Hello folks, this is Chase, and I just wanted to make a quick note here. This week we've split our episode of Garbage Theater into two parts for a few reasons. One, we had a lot of technical issues with recording this episode, and it's taken a bit longer to edit them all out. Also, this is a fairly longer episode than usual, clocking in at a little over 2 hours. Another reason is the scheduling, which I won't get into too much detail, but since our next episode is our last episode of the season, we don't have a Coming Attractions to do, so it helps us out if we split this one into two. I also want to say that there may be some strange edits in this two-parter, again due to the technical details, so we apologize for the quality in some areas. So without further ado, let's get to the show. Good evening, and welcome to Garbage Theater. Tonight's installment, Jesus, A Zombie Croc. I'm your host, Chase, with my co-hosts, Blake and John.
Hey.
I'm not even sorry about this one.
Let's get this
I should be, but I'm not.
Let's get this shitty shit show on the road.
What a
Zombie Croc.
shitty shit show.
Okay. We're going to start by... Okay. So, last week, we had to apologize for our error in the last episode. But I think it's Blake that needs to issue the apology now.
I am not apologizing for nothing.
What is left for you to cover with your shitty movie picks?
There's nothing.
You've done porn. You've done... your next pick's going to be... It's a VHS shot camcorder movie, and it's called Turtle Terror. And halfway we find out that the main character is a Nazi pedophile with a heart of gold.
Well, you know what? There may be that movie may be out there. All I can say is, if you don't like these movies, then win. It's that simple.
I did win, god damn it.
No, you did not win. Thank God, listener who shall remain unnamed. He's doing God's work.
Damn it.
Oh, man. This is why we shouldn't have listeners.
Well, we're trying to run them off as quick as we can. We already got the Italians out, the Goths out.
Yeah.
We're quickly working on the fairer sex. They'll be gone soon.
Yeah.
And by the end of this episode, we're going to have lost the African American.
I will say this.
People offended by racism will have left, for sure.
You know, it was a span of about 10 minutes in this movie where, the racism got pretty bad. But I think it was just to show how terrible that person was.
It was, but they were driving that point home fucking
They really
hard.
Were. Yeah, it was a little much.
I think the racism, I think it runs deeper. I think it runs deeper than that one character.
And it left the stain on the movie to where I'm like, there's nothing that's going to justify them like defeating the zombie croc and the voodoo guy. Like, the zombie croc and the voodoo guy were in the right in my eyes throughout most of this movie. So
I mean, I guess, but
I have a lot of questions about what they were even doing, but
me too. There's a lot to go over.
There's a lot to go over. We need to get started.
But I will say this:
movie,
I definitely think we should definitely just gloss over the racism shit as we're going through
No. That's not going to happen.
We're
going to make sure people know what we watched, just like we made sure that we had to watch fucking Swamp Rape in episode 2. You're not conveniently forgetting the darkest part of the movie.
Well, it was. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know.
You picked it, and your little machinations got us to watch it, so we're talking about it.
Machinations. Well, either way, the guy who said all this stuff is a terrible person. He ends up dying anyway, so...
Yeah. Okay.
Good.
So, like I said, we got a lot to go over. This movie was 6 hours long. Let's get going.
Was.
We open to a wide shot of the swamp as we hear some footsteps through the muck. And a lone man in a janitor's jumpsuit comes onto the scene, and he's poking around the brush with a shovel until he finds a goddamn pirate's treasure chest buried in the dirt. From there, we cut to a local authority figure that's nailing an eviction notice to a tree, letting the swamp denizens know that it's time to get out. Is that how this works? You just nail up an eviction notice to some random-ass tree in the woods?
Yeah.
And that just does the job?
I don't... this was so crazy. Like, I expected at some point to see where these people were living.
You never see this community. Ever.
Nope.
They just live in the frickin' trees.
The eviction thing reminded me of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Whenever, like in the beginning, where they tell him they're gonna bulldoze his house. Yeah. And they're like, don't act surprised. We had this set up at Town Hall or wherever he said it was. It's like, it was in the basement. Like, nobody knew it was there.
It was in the basement behind a door with a sign that said, "Beware of the leopard."
Yeah.
This eviction notice, too, was like clearly found. It was a JPEG they found online and photoshopped it. Printed it out on a home laser printer.
Yeah. Oh, they did a lot of photoshopping in this movie.
They sure did.
There's a particular billboard that I'm going to get into massive detail with.
Oh, God.
So we cut back to the jumpsuit guy, who's now completely changed his wardrobe into a stereotypical voodoo shaman with the top hat and the skull face paint. And he finds a nice little spot to settle. Yeah. He finds a nice spot to settle down, puts down the chest, opens it, and removes yet a smaller chest from it.
I was kind of hoping they were going to keep going, too.
Yeah, it was right there that I wrote, I already hate this movie. So he opens the smaller chest, and all the sound drops out of the movie for dramatic effect or terrible editing practices. He removes a bloody ball of glop and raises it to the sky as lightning and thunder ring out. He then pulls up the most real, live-looking chicken in the world and saws its head off.
It looked like one of the Muppet chickens that hangs out with Gonzo.
It did.
Those looked more real. Those looked more like chickens than this thing.
It did kind of look like just a rubber chicken that they glued feathers to.
It looked like it was made of wood.
It was awful.
It was rigid. So he slices the neck. They couldn't afford real chicken Foley noises, so they just had some clod off camera make bok 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 noises.
Yeah.
When they slit the chicken's throat.
I appreciated that, though.
He spills the blood of the chicken onto the ball of glop, and the camera zooms into the nearby water, revealing piles of skeletons. And we then see the terrible maw of the croc, and follow it as it walks through the inside of a terrarium that we're supposed to believe is the fucking swamp.
Oh, man. I can't believe they built this, like, terrarium.
Yeah. So did he resurrect a crocodile? Or did he turn a crocodile into a zombie crocodile?
I would assume, like, to me, and this is just what I gleaned from it, I don't know, maybe the heart was the heart from that giant crocodile. And it was like in hibernation. And he brought it, he summoned it.
Yeah. Why'd you have to spoil the twist of the movie, where in the last 5 goddamn minutes we figured out that thing's a fucking heart?
Yeah, it was the worst looking heart.
You didn't know it was a heart in the beginning?
It's a ball of goop.
Dude, it even made the heartbeat sound.
Not till the end of the movie.
No, in the first part it did too.
Nah, I don't remember that.
No, I'm with Chase actually on this one. When he pulled it out, I assumed it was a heart, but then when I got like closer shots of it, didn't look anything like a heart.
It didn't look anything like a heart.
It's just a red ball of dried hot glue.
It looked more like an egg than it did a heart.
Yeah.
I had no problem believing this was a heart.
Well,
they didn't say that it was a heart.
That's your misfortune.
I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying. Looks like y'all needed to pay closer attention.
The information wasn't there. It wasn't there.
No, it was not. So from that,
also, let me real quick. because I think this is kind of where the racism has started already. Y'all just didn't know it yet. I looked up this actor that's playing our janitor / voodoo priest villain.
Uh-huh.
And here I'll just give you the what his credit is in each of these IMDb jobs.
Oh, no.
Family servant, Papa Chicken, old barefoot slave, homeless man, drunk contraband slave,
Jesus
homeless
Christ.
guy, Monticello servant, and Davis family butler.
Okay, maybe I am sorry.
The only work this poor bastard ever gets is as a slave,
Or a servant.
or a homeless guy.
Sorry, I take it back. Yes, I am sorry.
Holy shit. Oh, I'm sad now.
But you know what, though? He's actually in... I mean, those credits include the Lincoln, the Spielberg Lincoln.
He was in Lincoln?
Dude, yeah, he was a slave in Lincoln.
Damn.
He was in House of Cards. John Adams, the miniseries. I mean, he's been in stuff. He's
What's
just
he
always a
doing in
slave.
this movie?
He finally got to be something other than a slave.
This was his breakout role. They got him out of his typecasting. Okay.
Damn it, this movie.
So we cut from the crocodile resurrection to a troubled youth hanging out on some random turnpike. And she wanders along the side of the road trying to hitchhike. We then cut to a van that's coming down the road, and we're introduced to some more characters. And they're discussing it's 3 guys, and they're discussing finding some girls to party with in a totally not creepy fashion.
I think in defense of the movie, I think they're intentionally creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I got it, whenever they kind of roll upon the girl, and one of them says, don't scare her off. But then they immediately just open the sliding door to this van. They're like, "Hey, girl!" It's like,
Yeah, they're like,
"Did you just forget your instructions?"
They're like hissing at her and just breathing heavy in her direction.
Yeah.
They do like has this tactic ever worked for them before?
I just like how it went from "don't scare her off" to immediately just sliding this door open.
And what they're so, it seems like they're so desperate to find a girl to kidnap and do whatever they're doing with. But when they do that, they pull open, they do the whole their little shtick there, and she says no. So they go, okay, let's leave, and they just leave.
Yeah.
They give up immediately.
Kidnapping's a lot easier when they come willingly.
Well, we tried all our best moves and pickup lines, and she just didn't bite on it. So I guess we gotta go.
After a brief stroll, she comes across the van parked on the side of the road. She walks up to it, finds that it's empty. I just want to point out that there's a stick figure family on the side window of the van, prompting that this is someone's mom's van.
So I
hope y'all took notes about what's on that sticker family, though.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I did, but there was one item that I couldn't identify.
There was one hard to decipher item on there.
She then walks backwards down the street, not taking her eyes off the empty van like you do, when the 3 men appear behind her. The creeps give chase, and they run the girl into the woods. The driver, who is an expert tracker apparently, looks at the leaf litter for half a second and knows exactly where she went.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna believe that this guy with like gauges is some kind of master tracker.
So they come to the end of her quote-unquote trail, and they decide to split up, leaving one of the creeps behind. And as the other 2 leave, he sparks up a cigarette and sits on a big exposed tree root from an upturned tree, where it's revealed that the girl is underneath, hiding, Frodo style.
Yeah.
They really didn't check the area where the tracks ended very well, did they? The tracks in here, she's not immediately in sight Well, shit. We cut to the eye of the zombie croc and get a little bit of our first taste of croc vision as it skulks around the swamp, which is just an orange filter over the footage. It approaches the creep sitting on the tree, and the girl watches in horror as it comes right up to him, snarling and growling. And there's no reaction to this at all. We get the first of what I'm positive will be 1,000 croc kill cam shots from inside its mouth. And it bites at the guy. He lets out a short scream. There's a crunching sound that sounds like potato chips. And blood and fingers spray all over the tree. They just took a handful of fake fingers and just threw them.
I didn't see that.
I didn't see the fingers.
It was just fingers.
Oh my god.
So the girl gets up and runs off, and the other two creeps are right there. Like, they walked maybe 10 feet out into the woods. They grab her. The croc is in close pursuit. And sure enough, we get another croc kill cam shot as it bites one of the creeps, but it just sprays blood on his face, and then he falls down. The size of this crocodile is confusing, because whenever they show the mouth coming up to him, it's taller than them.
Yeah,
right?
I had a big problem with that.
The size of the crocodile shifts constantly throughout the movie, and no one gives a crap.
Even if it's a giant crocodile, why is it on its like hind legs?
They later describe it to be 35 feet long, which is, you know, it's a big damn crocodile.
It's
but
huge.
I still have to believe the head still isn't. It's not taller than a man.
No.
Anyway, looking for logic in this. What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, it's insane.
So he falls to the ground dead, and then it cuts back to the opening wide shot of the movie for confusing reasons. It just leaves. Then we go to another random scene where we see a line of cans on a fence with conveniently placed electrical tape to obscure any branding.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome.
Which they didn't do a very good job of, because it's clearly a Rockstar energy drink and then a bunch of Big K drinks from Kroger's. So Officer Rivera draws her pistol and takes aim at the cans. She begins firing, and it's more and more clear that it's an airsoft gun. Then they just painted in a muzzle flash. At least they painted in the muzzle flashes the right way around.
Right.
She continually misses her shots, putting cheap-looking bullet hole JPEGs onto the fence. Which, to me, it looked like those were metal bullet holes on this wooden fence.
I didn't pay that much attention to it, honestly.
I was actually a little bit impressed by this effect.
How?
No, I mean, like, you know, this movie is no budget. I mean, I'm just looking at it from the point of view of some asshole making a movie in his backyard.
Well, there you go, assholes in your backyard. All you need to do to impress John is copy and paste.
I'm just saying it didn't look that bad, considering all things considered.
It looked pretty goddamn bad to me.
All right.
But anyway, splitting hairs here, because this whole movie was bad.
John's like, I like the bullet holes and I like this woman. This movie gets an A from me.
No, it's all about Safari Sam, dog.
What?
Safari Sam.
Oh, Safari. Oh, yeah.
We'll get to that later. Much later. So this scene goes on for quite some time, her shooting and missing, until she eventually gives up, walks up to the cans, and knocks them down.
Well, that third one, there was a swing and a miss before she knocked it down.
I've been thinking about that a lot.
She's got terrible aim in general.
That whiff. Yeah, I was wondering, like, at first I was like, that, you know, it ain't like it was going to cost them any money to reset the cans and have her do that again. But
Right.
they chose that cut, that take. I mean...
This movie was a string of first takes.
Yeah, like, there's a lot of stuff they just let go. Like, oh, well, screw it.
Yeah.
I know. But were they trying to, like, drive home the fact that she can't hit shit.
She can't even swat one off the...
Yeah.
Huh. Like, were they being that smart about it?
These are all... We gotta get this director on the line.
This is again us giving way too much credit to a movie.
Nah, that field freak theory's fucking watertight, man.
Jesus Christ. So we cut to somebody new walking down the road, and this guy looks like he means business. He's old, he's grizzled, he's missing an eye, he's got a giant gator tooth trophy hanging around his neck. But more on him later, because we cut away again. Because that's all we need of him.
Yeah.
And we cut away to a damn near unreadable billboard that's totally there. And
which is our first hit at the racial undertones.
Yeah. So it's Mayor J.T. Davis welcomes you to Ravens Neck County, where big things are coming out of our little town. Okay, time to break down this fucking billboard.
Yeah.
Okay, here
it comes.
It's a white background billboard with a Confederate flag that's at about 30% transparency.
Right.
And the text that's on it is both the same blue of the flag and a light orange that's damn near white on white background. It's next to a picture of the mayor, which is dropped over a JPEG of generic sky, and they even photoshopped in a vote button on his lapel, because putting an actual vote button on his lapel was just going to be too damn hard to come by.
The vote button is like also comically large.
Yeah. And so proud they were of this billboard that they slapped together that we hang on this shot for 17 silent seconds. 17 seconds.
Should we all just be silent for 17 seconds?
Be silent for 17 seconds just to give you an idea of how fucking long 17 seconds is. Ready?
All right.
Go. Fuck.
That is a really long time.
Just staring at a billboard. They had to have had editing software because they put this movie together. They didn't like tape like the actual film together.
No, it is not done on film.
So how could they not have?
What do you mean? It had the cool little film marks throughout the entire movie.
How could they not have figured out how to trim the dead space at the end of shots?
Oh, that didn't happen throughout the whole movie.
No.
Yeah, the editing was a pretty big problem.
Yeah. So we go from that to Rivera returning to her cruiser, defeated at how terrible a shot she is.
Defeated by the can.
Just then, the dispatcher on the radio comes on and orders her to check out a complaint by Mr. Willie Bob, who's probably intoxicated. So she complies and heads out.
This is our director, by the way.
Willie Bob?
Willie Bob is the director. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. This is his Tarantino moment.
Yeah.
She arrives on the scene, and Willie Bob startles her. At first, I thought he was one of the three guys from the van, because he looks so much like they did. And I was unsure for a little while, but I guess they just doubled up on the wardrobe. So she tells him that she's checked the whole area. She didn't, and didn't see anything that he's complaining about. They argue about how much Willie has had to drink this morning, while the camera focuses on the space between their faces, with their faces barely in shot.
I thought that was a nice artistic choice.
This is not the last time this happens in this movie.
No.
Where it's like, I guess because our director wasn't behind the camera whatever jerk off was filming it had his finger on the zoom and just slowly zoomed in on the space in between.
They were filming the tension between them.
Cool. They were filming the bullshit.
You got to get a second unit guy you can rely on, or an assistant director or something.
Yeah.
But also, like, focus is a big problem throughout the movie, so I don't think it matters who is behind that camera.
Well,
anytime you're doing forced perspective stuff, your focus kind of needs to be on point for that to be pulled off properly.
Yes.
That fails every single time.
Weta and Peter Jackson, these assholes were not.
No, not at all.
So I guarantee you that this movie had no script. It's just, here's the gist of what we need to convey in this scene. Go with it. And go with it they do, as they just ramble on in a scene that could have been a fraction of the time.
Yeah.
The characters are constantly talking over each other. It's just a mess.
It's naturalistic, Chase.
Ugh.
It was an artistic choice.
So Willie finally leaves, and Rivera takes a look around. The voodoo man from earlier, now back in his janitor costume, spots her as he hides behind a tree. He sneaks up on her as loudly as possible.
But that is... just leaves crunching.
Yeah.
And she just pretending like she doesn't hear it.
Just staring off in the other direction. Who just stands and looks for that long?
Yeah. So we cut back to her car, where another random officer has brought her coffee in the middle of a swamp. And then we cut immediately back to Rivera spinning around and drawing her gun. What the fuck was that kind of cut? They just jammed some bullshit into the middle of a tension building scene where he's sneaking up on her. And then they just cut away this guy with coffee. So imagine the finale of Seven, where Kevin Spacey just spoilers for Seven, by the way. If you haven't seen Seven by now, what the fuck's wrong with you? Kevin Spacey's just revealed that he's killed Brad Pitt's wife and her unborn child, and Morgan Freeman's pleading with him not to kill Kevin Spacey because that's what he wants. And right as a tearful Brad Pitt, tears in his eyes, fighting the urge to shoot Kevin Spacey, gets a brief flash of Gwyneth Paltrow's face. It cuts to some asshole at a drive-thru going, yeah, can I get a jumbo jack with cheese? And then it cuts back to Brad Pitt shooting Kevin Spacey. That was the equivalent of what the fuck just happened.
I don't know about the equivalent. But yeah, that's about right.
Yes, I just compared this movie to Seven.
Yeah.
Anyway, just had to get that rant out. The voodoo man puts his hands up and claims he's just digging for worms to go fishing. Rivera asks him for some ID, so the man reaches into his pocket and pocket sand.
Yeah, but that wasn't my problem. My problem was, here's a police officer that's way too quick to draw her weapon on somebody. And she's I have written on here when she asks him for ID in real big red letters on my sheet of paper, it says, "Am I being detained?"
Who else but our Blake?
I mean, it was like, why do you need to see my ID? I'm out here. I just told you I'm digging for worms. What crime do you suspect me of committing?
Come on, though. He was sneaking up on her. I mean,
it doesn't. Sneaking around is not illegal. So, am I being detained? That's the phrase of the day, friends.
I tell you what. You grab a shovel and sneak up on a few police officers and see how long that you make it doing that.
Just saying. It didn't do nothing illegal.
Look, I'm just sneaking around with my shovel. Is there something illegal about that, officer?
No, that's right. There isn't. So the proper response to that is, can I see some ID? Am I being detained?
Show me the law where it says I can't creep up behind you silently, slowly raising a shovel over my head.
You won't find it.
So he pocket sands her. Rivera gags and reels from the attack, while Coffee Cop wanders into the woods looking for her. The voodoo man stands. I'm gonna stop. We find out his name later. I'm just gonna start saying it. His name is Papa Chicken because fuck this movie.
Good God.
Yeah. So Papa Chicken is standing over Rivera as she lays on the ground, gasping for air. She wakes up, and the movie has a filter over it, so I guess this is a dream sequence.
A different filter.
She sees a little boy. Yeah.
Or an additional filter.
A more different filter. She sees a little boy standing alone. This boy is Joshua, and Rivera asks him to take her to his parents. So the two walk through the woods when the voodoo man, Papa Chicken, is watching from afar. She draws her gun and points it at him, and he disappears. So they keep walking through the woods. And Joshua's worried about something's going to get him. So she hugs Joshua and tells him that it's going to be okay. And when she pulls away, Joshua's turned into a mutilated corpse that for some reason she's having a lot of trouble putting down. It's like it's
she's not even really reacting to it either. She's just like,
Gah.
So there's a lot going on here. First of all, the kid playing Joshua is like clearly cold. And they have all this extra clothing on him under his costume. Like he's got a beanie on under his like sun hat.
Yeah.
Oh, he's supposed to. The kid's dressed like, you know, from the past or whatever.
Yeah. Like the overalls and the straw hat.
Yeah. He's also like really weird. That shot of him, where she like leads him away. He like looks like he's just weirded out by the whole thing or something. His eyes are really big.
He's weirded out. He's weirded out because a police officer just drew a weapon again on a guy for just standing there in the forest.
They didn't even have police officers from the time this kid's supposed to be from.
Well, that's even worse. Why is this broad pointing guns at people?
And then why does this scene have anything to do with anything?
No,
does this movie have anything to do with anything?
It never comes back.
After that happens, he turns into the corpse. She drops him. Then Papa Chicken grabs her from behind and tells her that he's coming for her. The zombie croc makes a brief appearance and she wakes up for a third time. Is she still in the dream? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Turns out no. Because Coffee Cop shows up and grabs her and tells her that there's dead people and body parts everywhere. It's crazy. It's craziness.
I really liked Roscoe. I thought he was really funny.
Crazy. It's craziness.
Craziness. Like, this guy brought a lot to this performance, man.
Yeah. So she calms him down and asks him to take her to the bodies.
This line of his is really funny where she calms him down and she's like, okay, you good? And he's like, yeah, I'm good. He's like, okay, take me to the bodies. And he's like, I just got good and you want me to show you?
He's the most talented one on the bunch.
I like how he said, I've been doing this for 3 years or whatever, and I ain't never seen shit like this before.
3 years.
Yeah.
They come up to a bunch of big piles of gore. Rivera says that old Willie Bob was right. More reinforcement that there's no script to this movie, as the dead giveaway, is how often that when they're having their little back and forth conversations, they start sentences at the same time and have to stop and wait for each other. And then when the conversation's over, they kind of just stand there and stare at each other like, are you done?
Anything more to add?
Are we done ad-libbing? Can we cut? And then they left all that in. Rivera tells Roscoe to start putting up the police tape while she calls the sheriff. And a hilarious tape putting scene ensues as Rivera is fruitlessly calling the sheriff and Roscoe is clumsily wrapping up the tape. Oh, you see what you made me do? So Rivera leaves Roscoe while she goes and looks for the probably drunk missing sheriff. Yeah. So back at the sheriff's station, the phone's ringing, but nobody's answering. Especially not this tiny little toy sheriff who's answering a tiny little phone of his own. He's got a little toy sheriff answering a phone, sitting on his desk, something that he's not doing. Rivera knocks on the door, but there's no answer, so she lets herself in. The sheriff is asleep in his chair, and again, I thought I had a stroke, because Rivera transmorphs into a little girl and screams out "Dad," and it wakes up the sheriff, and then she's back to her grown self again.
I thought that was nice.
Why did that need to happen?
It was, now you know that that's her dad.
Oh, her saying "Dad" wouldn't have conveyed that?
Look, y'all didn't know what that heart was at the beginning of the movie. They got to pound it into your head.
Oh my god. No.
Fury.
Yes.
just no on this one.
This was somebody said, "I want to put my daughter in the movie," so they did some stupid thing like this.
That was so weird.
They were filming the movie, and when they did the heart scene, somebody was like, "I can't tell that's a heart." And they're like, "Dude, it's a heart. Obviously, it's a heart." "I can't tell it's a heart." And they're like, "Good. We'll pound every bit of information for the rest of this movie because idiot here doesn't know it's a heart."
There was no information to say that was a heart.
Nothing.
If anything, I thought they were going to hatch the egg into the zombie croc because it was a fucking egg.
Well, that's coming too. Ooh, spoilers.
Cool.
The sheriff's office looked like exactly like my grandpa's old den. This is like obviously just the basement of someone's house.
Yeah. Was your grandpa's old den entirely lit by one halogen light up in the corner?
No, his actually had a window in it.
Because that's how they light all the interior shots of this movie. One big blaring halogen light.
Yeah.
So the sheriff wakes up, pours himself a breakfast drink of whiskey, and takes a big sloppy bite of a donut. And since we were on David Fincher earlier, why the hell is this movie all of a sudden doing these dark, gritty close-ups of all the shit going on this guy's desk?
Build an atmosphere.
Important plot points.
So she informs him that there's a big old crime scene down by the bayou, and there's lots of body parts everywhere. And he rambles on about some mug that she made and some other drunken nonsense, and briefly discussing the missing girl from the beginning, who he says that is some politician's daughter, and that's all information that never comes back.
Yeah.
Super unnecessary.
It's later we meet the mayor. It's not his daughter. The jackass that was on the billboard, not his daughter. I don't know what the hell's going on.
I was really annoyed for some reason that he wasn't drinking his booze out of the mug that she made him. I felt like he had the mug. They had like big shots, close-ups of the glasses he was drinking out of, and the mug was sitting right next to his like booze glass. I don't know. There could have been something like some subtext to him drinking the booze out of the mug that she made him, but
I didn't like how his accent changed from scene to scene.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always some kind of different Southern accent.
Like it was Southern. Like it was okay Southern during that scene. But like the next scene you see him, it was like, hey, you need to like be more Southern.
Can you be more, I don't know, boss hoggish with it?
Yeah. That's exactly what it was.
And the other thing about this scene is they made sure to let's never have the speaking character actually on screen. We're going to show her while he's talking, and it's going to be this muffled off dialogue. Then we'll cut to him while she's talking. He sends her back out to the crime scene to take pictures and put up tape and whatnot, while he presumably keeps drinking. She tells him to go home and get his goddamn shit together so he can meet the mayor later. She leaves, and as she leaves, he says, "Oh, that girl's a firecracker, just like her mother. She couldn't hit a bull in the butt with a bass fiddle." And now, the point to make about this is, when he delivers that line, one of the crew behind the camera laughs audibly on the track, and they opted to use this take.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be the only two people in the room. She leaves. He's talking to himself. Some random asshole laughs. And yeah, fuck it.
I loved it.
Those are the dangers of independent filmmaking. I know in the trailer for Murder on the Campus 2, there's a couple of shots in Murder on the Campus 1 where like you hear me say like action or something at the beginning of the take.
Murder on the Campus being the movie that John and I made.
Oh yeah. Yes.
We cut to some random clown in the middle of nowhere on his cell phone, which is a cordless phone.
No, it's a Zach Morris cell phone. Like it's
a Zach Morris prop cell
things.
phone because like you can see the keypad sticker coming off.
So he's apparently supposed to be going to some gig, and he's lost trying to get directions. He complains that he's in a cornfield. He's not.
No.
or whatever you call these freaking things. You mean a field?
Yeah, there's nothing growing there.
It's just a regular field with a road. He's swigging a beer and immediately spitting it out with every sip. I guess that's some fancy way of drinking that, but not drinking when you're about to perform. He drinks it and immediately spits it out.
Yeah, you get the best of both worlds. You get to smell like liquor without actually being drunk.
I immediately thought, like, is this guy an angel? Like on Dogma where
you only
Metatron
taste it?
Yeah.
So he tells the person on the phone that he's been paid in full, and it doesn't matter if he's late, so he's going to keep going down the road until he finds something. Gets in his car, and he takes off, and we know this because the subtitles say, car speeds off.
I had big problems with this costume. This is clearly a store-bought Halloween costume, and it's
not a
small.
Professional clown.
It's too small. Clown costumes are supposed to be big and baggy. This thing like fits like a glove.
I like how this is what you're making your stand on, the guy's clown costume.
It was terrible. He's supposed to be a professional. If this guy showed up, like, he's been doing it, this is his first gig. If this guy shows up.
I speaking of too small Halloween costumes, I seem to remember somebody cramming his fully grown self into an infant-sized bee costume one Halloween.
Somebody did that, but that's not the issue here.
It's okay if I wear an ill-fitting costume, but I do not want to see it on film. What an ass.
Oh my god, I'm the asshole now?
Yes, you've always been the asshole.
Oh, I guess that's true. So nothing about this guy's costume bothered you guys?
If there's a chick wearing a costume too tight, you'd be happy.
Not if she was supposed to be a clown.
I like the sigh, just like, God damn it.
So he speeds off. Cut back to the sheriff's station. Here we go.
Yeah.
So Sheriff Drinky is sleeping and gurgling when some woman in black wakes him up with a party favor, the little blowy straw thing. A man in a suit, who turns out to be the mayor, introduces her as his new assistant, Betty, and he asks about the incident in the swamp. The mayor insists that it was a boating accident, because all mayors think all accidents are boating accidents.
That's I was right. Like, why are they trying to shoehorn in a Jaws scene to this movie?
Because they have no ideas for themselves. Betty then throws in her 2 cents and thinks it's a lawnmower malfunction.
Oh, Betty.
The sheriff insists that it's being taken care of, so the mayor then inquires about the swamp evictions. The sheriff says, well, all that's left is old Willie Bob and some of the colored folk down by Chicken Cove.
Right when he said that,
those
I was
old
like,
color folk of Chicken Cove.
When he said it audibly, oh, fuck. Right?
Yeah.
Like, God damn it. What, like... Things were going so well.
It keeps going because the mayor says that there's a Texas investor that wants to put a lot of money into Raven's Neck so they can have malls and restaurants and payday loan stores. You know, the fabric of high society. So the sheriff claims that the swamp is sacred, again, to the colored folks.
Why
the mayor says that
yeah,
this is all happening right now.
The sacred thing. What? As if like all it's like impossible
There's
to
just
talk
so
about.
much wrong with
I know.
everything's wrong with this scene.
Yeah. The mayor then says that he's got to get to have this deal held up because of some unfortunate incident that happened in the past with the colored folks, and that his great-grandpappy, God bless his dead soul, only thought he was doing what was right at the time. Holy shit, what is he talking about?
Oh, God.
Yeah, when we find out what he was talking about, I don't understand how anybody could think that it was the right thing to do at the time.
Yeah.
We'll I didn't even think about it like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll find that out later. He then says that if it'll help, that he'll authorize a Remember the Slaves memorial down by the dollar store if that'll hush him up.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just wow.
Hoo boy.
Yeah. It's right about then where I'm like, can we see a Sasquatch penis again? Like, can we go back to the good old days of Sasquatch penises?
the comfort of the Sasquatch dick.
I'll be your forest bride. Just get me out of this movie.
Exactly.
Even the actors seem to be dumbstruck by this because after he says that, it's just silent for several seconds. Until the phone, thank Christ, rings, and it's Rivera reporting that the coroner has identified the incident as an animal attack. More Jaws shit. And he thinks it's a crocodile. So he's a coroner that's not worth his fucking shit. Because there ain't no crocodiles in North fucking America, people.
No. No, there aren't.
Well,
nobody bats an eye.
Do we know where this is supposed to be even? I mean,
I've got to assume it's got to be Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. It's got to be one of those three.
Okay. All the license plates were for Virginia. But okay.
What were the licenses? The license plates were for which? Oh, they were? Well, shit.
Y'all better be careful. Just saying.
I have no. There
was an identifying marker. Not the license plate.
This is shit.
This will come back to haunt y'all.
The mayor bids the sheriff adieu and leaves. We get to watch the sheriff drink a little more, as per his contract, before we cut back to the clown. The clown, he's still arguing on the phone. He pulls over, quote unquote, in the middle of the road and goes for a little stroll. He's uncomfortable because he needs to piss, and it's impossible to do so in this clown costume. He eventually, though, succumbs to nature's call and wanders out to the woods to relieve himself. And when he does, it sounds like someone gargling and gurgling. I don't know what Foley person said, this is what urination sounds like, but it's just...
He's also enjoying peeing way too much.
You've ever had a really good pee, though?
I have, but even then, I wasn't like this guy. Like, you know, just
sounded like someone was pouring a bucket out.
Just it made him so weak that his head just had to rest against the tree because it was just so relaxing.
Yeah, the subtitles clued me in that it was supposed to be a urinating sound effect.
Yeah.
So then Zombie Croc eye, and the clown hears a growl and begins looking around. He's very non-concerned about what sounds like a goddamn lion out in the woods.
Right.
As he starts back for the car, all the while by being watched by the Croc. It jumps out in Croc vision and chomps into him as he screams. Cut back to the sheriff, out of his booze den and in his cruiser. He's trying to get in touch with his daughter, but old Myrtle is having trouble connecting him. She's at home sleeping on the couch. She finally answers, and the sheriff tells him that they have more problems. She claims that she was up all night and just got to sleep. When did a day pass?
I don't know.
When was there a night?
Never.
Yeah.
I also think she's sleeping on a couch in a different corner of the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because some of the knickknacks
shoot.
were the same.
Yeah. It's supposed to be your house, I think.
He tells her the mayor sent in some experts to check out the swamp and that she needs to get down there to take charge. He can't because he's got to get to the cemetery because people have been digging up bodies. So we cut back to the clown again, who's had all the flesh ripped off of his right arm and just a skeleton arm left. He makes his way back to the car when his phone rings with a goofy-ass boink ringtone.
I laughed at that. I thought that was funny.
That phone does not have ringtones, my friend.
I understand, but it was so funny.
I can't believe that phone still operates or gets service or anything. I don't believe anything about this phone.
Well, technically, I'll tell you what, it would not get service. I guess I'm not going into it. It wouldn't get service. I can tell you why, but it doesn't get service.
Can I say I thought this his arm was actually a pretty good effect.
It wasn't bad.
You know,
All torn up.
From the angle they shot it at, it was working. And then they go to a different angle, and you can see his other arm just stuffed down into his clown suit.
Right.
Into his already too tight clown suit.
Right.
Yeah, if it had been a baggy suit, you never would have saw it.
I'm telling you.
He answers the phone and tells the person on the line that it, quote unquote, sucked the flesh off his arm. Is that what crocodiles do?
Well, yeah.
They just suck all the flesh off and leave the bones?
That's what they're known for.
Yeah. He was apparently hired to go to the mayor's wife's birthday, a goddamn clown, to the mayor's wife's birthday party. The Croc approaches again, and there's a scream, then a cut to black. And it stays black, silently black, for a while. And I thought, oh good, the movie broke. We can stop. Oh, goddamn it, here it goes again. So yeah, there was just a hole in the movie that they failed to patch. Cut to the sheriff. He pulls a shotgun out of his truck, wanders out into the woods. He comes across some graves and calls his daughter to let her know that there's these 3 graves that are dug up, and he pines for a drink because it's been at least 5 minutes since his last one. He hears a distant growl, goes to investigate.
Can we talk about the cemetery really quick?
The quote-unquote cemetery?
Because they went out of their way to call it a cemetery. It's literally just 3 twig crosses in the middle of a field.
This also is the only appearance of an actual gun in the movie.
Yeah. The shotgun was the only actual... Well, 3 graves is all they got in this bustling metropolitan town that they have. The people that live in the swamp don't even have buildings.
That's true. Yeah, they just have each one gets a tree to rest their head against.
Yeah. So, cut to the birthday party. This is a whole thing. So, there's an old woman in a walker that's hobbling to her chair as people blast her with party favors and confetti. They're trying to murder this woman with party noise.
This scene reminded me of the scene in Birdemic where in the office where they're celebrating his big sale or whatever. They just keep clapping forever.
I also, they were trying to be funny in this scene, but none of it landed.
No.
Yeah.
And all the people were just awful.
A lot of it just came across like they were just abusing this old lady.
Yes.
Right.
It was a very violent celebration.
Yeah.
She asks where her husband is, which is the mayor. So the mayor is married to this grandmother. The mayor's not that old.
No.
So Willie Bob, who's there, gets on the microphone and announces that it's old Mildred's birthday and that he wants to sing a song. So he sings Happy Birthday, which I'm sure they didn't pay the rights for.
I'm about to say, you know how expensive it is to sing Happy Birthday in a movie?
Not very when you just do it anyway.
Well, I think didn't they sing it twice too?
I can't remember, but
Yeah,
I think
almost.
they sung it twice, or like they started to sing it a second time because there basically is a big fuck you to whoever owns the rights to Happy Birthday.
I think
they
Happy
slid one
Birthday is in
under
the
the radar.
public domain now.
Is it?
I think so.
I don't know.
Was it when this was made?
Well, this was only made, 2 years ago?
I don't think it is, dude.
I don't think it is.
Because in TV shows and stuff, they always avoid it. Like that's why like a birthday party is always interrupted on a TV show.
Yeah.
We'll have to figure this out.
Yeah. That'll be for later. So the mayor shows up eventually with his assistant and gives his wife a hug. And they have a conversation that no one can hear because of the fucking noise is still going on in this scene. The party favors and the scream. They get like 3 inches from this woman's face and scream happy birthday at her. So Willie Bob gives her a jug of moonshine for a present. Mildred complains about the missing clown. And the various white trash that's attending the party agree that it ain't no party without a clown. So while this is happening, old Papa Chicken is doing his MO again, slowly creeping up behind people. And he walks up to Mildred from behind. The mayor calls out to him and says, "Hey, Papa Chicken, you're not invited to this party." But he hands Mildred a present wrapped in newspaper featuring the Book of Mormon Broadway musical.
Yeah.
like heavily featured. They made sure that it was square on top of this present that you could see it.
Yeah.
As he walks away, he's sprinkling some mystery substance on the ground, like you do when you do voodoo. The partygoers tell her to open it, which she does, and it's the dead wooden chicken from earlier.
And everyone has a real good freak out about it.
Oh, yeah. They all recoil in horror, but not enough horror to stop them from shoving fried chicken into their mouths.
Oh my god.
This party. Then the zombie croc appears.
Party.
Yeah. The zombie croc appears out of fucking nowhere, and he's about 7 feet in the air above Mildred, and he vomits out the severed head of the clown onto the birthday cake. And then he starts, mouth cam attacking random party guests, and some random girl snatches the moonshine and runs off.
These party guests are garbage people.
Yes.
Every single one of them.
Yeah, because the guests proceed to completely loot the party, shoving chicken parts into their mouth and running off.
They're taking their own gifts back.
Yeah.
They're like Mildred's begging for help, and they're all just like, later.
Yeah. You've lived long enough, lady.
Your time has come.
There's random people just vomiting onto things.
Yeah.
Mildred's screaming out to her husband to help her, but he decides to hightail it, and he leaves both wife and Betty behind. Mildred finally gets chomped by the crocodile, spraying Betty with blood, and Betty just kind of stands there.
She's in shock. Chase.
Yeah, I know.
Is she?
Come on.
Did she know they were even filming her?
She was in shock that she was in this movie.
Yeah. Oh, God. Why?
Even she can't believe that the mayor brought the woman he's having an affair with to his wife's birthday party.
Now, that was never expressed. It never said it.
Okay, mister, that's definitely a heart.
We cut from the blood-soaked scene to the mayor out in the woods running away. He comes upon the box that Papa Chicken dug up in the opening scene, and it's arranged in the center of all the eviction notices that were pinned around the swamp. He starts picking them all up when Papa Chicken appears on a log in front of him, and he tells Papa Chicken I quote, that his voodoo killed his wife and it ruined the party. God damn it.
Oh, man.
So he says, and for that, I'm going to kill you, Papa Chicken. And just then, Papa Chicken pulls out a voodoo doll and gives it a stick. And the mayor collapses in pain as he's stuck over and over again. So the crocodile appears and eats the mayor as Papa Chicken watches on and says his trademark line, "Rest in pieces, LOL."
Very original.
Got him.
Got him.
So we cut from there to Roscoe and the mayor's hired experts out in the woods. There's a woman in a pith helmet who is Safari Sam that John mentioned earlier. She explains to Roscoe how they plan to capture the croc in an extremely technical detail. She plays around with a toy goat and a toy alligator and drops a milk crate on them. And it turns out that's a very apt description of what's about to play out.
Yeah.
So she asks her colleague Ash to interview Roscoe to get him out of her hair. She films him giving his explanation as they watch a quote-unquote helicopter fly up with the cage. It's this little dinky dollar store helicopter toy. Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
why
that's
not?
it.
Why not? We're right back in Swamp Ape.
This was adorable, though. This is adorable.
Yeah. It was,
this would be adorable if it was made by 9-year-olds.
Right. Oh, man. I mean, I was like, I gave him a little slow clap after this. Like, the whole thing was, it was cute. It was real cute. They made it happen. They got the helicopter scene in there.
Did you slow clap the G.I. Joe boat getting flipped over by the toy Yeti in Swamp Ape?
That was so out of nowhere.
But in this movie, their whole budget went to that Happy Birthday song, so they didn't have a lot left over to have a helicopter come over.
All right, well, since you brought it up again, I found an article that Happy Birthday is officially recognized in the public domain from 2016.
2016, not in time for this movie.
Well,
right.
I guess not, but the company agreed to pay back $14 million to people who have paid licensing fees to use the song.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, there you go. Anyway.
Now it's in the public domain. Happy birthdays all around.
So, Safari Sam calls out to Mutabo, their African guide.
Holy
Sweet fucking Jesus.
Shit.
And he's African because he's wearing a daishiki, and she barks orders at him in some bullshit African language.
Fake ass African. She's like, doobadoo, doobadoo.
Yeah, exactly.
And this guy was cool with doing this.
I can't believe he was cool with this. So, just for the record, this is the second and final black person to appear in this film.
Yeah.
One is an old voodoo man, and the other is straight from Africa and doesn't speak English. I think
now that we've gotten past all that,
I'm just saying, I think the racism in this movie extends beyond just the mayor.
Yeah.
I guess you're right. I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because that guy didn't last long.
No. So he goes off to bait the trap with the goat. Roscoe's got an issue with feeding a live goat to a crocodile, when luckily Mutabo chops the goat up into about 1,000 pieces for a half an hour.
I was like, Jesus, Mutabo, he's dead.
So Rivera arrives on the scene just as the croc approaches the cage. The croc's head is bigger than the size of the cage. Because no one thought this through. Again, adorable if 9 years old.
Right.
Well, yeah.
The croc, quote unquote, enters the cage and eats the goat parts. It proceeds to destroy the cage and scampers away with a cartoon sploosh sound as it enters the water.
I couldn't believe the sound effect. Well, first of all, why did they need to have the helicopter in the movie at all? Why couldn't they just have the cage?
I don't know.
Well, how'd they get this big ass cage there? Did Mutabo drag it there?
It doesn't matter. I mean, some truck off camera. It doesn't matter. They could have just had the cage there. And then, in the demonstration, the cage drops from above onto the crocodile. But
so they even got that part wrong.
Yeah. So,
but the sploosh sound.
The sploosh, yeah. Bloop.
A 35-foot crocodile just goes bloop when it enters the water.
So the group just kind of backs into the woods, unsure of why their master plan failed. Mutabo walks up to the water and pokes it with his stick, and he tells them that the coast is clear because the croc went underwater. Isn't this the most dangerous situation with a crocodilian when it's submerged underwater at the shoreline?
I would say so. If Crocodile Dundee taught me anything, it's that you don't go near the watering hole when the crocodile's underwater. Yeah.
And sure enough, Mutabo gets attacked by the crocodile in hilarious fashion. It looks like they took a piece of African patterned cloth and wrapped it around the voodoo doll from earlier and just had the hand puppet thrash it around a little bit.
That's basically it.
That's it.
Yeah. So the rest of the crew still just kind of watch and slowly back up. But it's just Mutabo, no big loss. So Roscoe and Rivera draw their guns and fire at the croc. Roscoe falls down and he's dragged away by the croc, but not a sound's made, no scream, no frown, no nothing, just dragged away. Rivera notices that he's missing, so she turns them all around to go back and find him, where they find him calmly sitting up with his feet bitten off. Just, okay.
And his feet are sitting right there, too.
Yeah. He just kind of like bit him in. Those are feet.
Not the foot. Why? I mean, why'd the croc only bite off his feet? He's straight massacred everybody else. Or Roscoe, he's like, nah, you're cool, dude. I'm gonna just eat your feet real quick, and then I'm gonna be out.
He got full on Mutabo.
He took notes from the Field Freak, because Field Freak had the same MO when it came to legs.
That's true.
Split them off, leave them just a couple inches off.
Right.
So the rest of the crew just start vomiting and turning away at the sight. Rivera consoles Roscoe as Ash tries to film it. Rivera draws her gun and tells her that if you film this, I'll shoot you. So go ahead, Blake.
No. I was very upset.
Filming police officers.
Yeah, it goes without saying. I was very upset.
But this wasn't in her capacity as a police officer. She was just trying to console her friend.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. They're out in public. If you're out in public, you God damn it, y'all gonna make me say it. You can film anything out in public. You don't need permission. And even so, he is a cop and all that, and you're allowed to film police while they're doing their duty. Supreme Court said so. Am I being detained right now?
This concludes Know Your Rights with Blake.
Everybody should know their rights, goddammit.
Roscoe dies silently, and they leave the scene. And guess what? There's still 40 minutes of this shit left.
Oh my god.
Can we do the Cliff Note version for the rest of this episode?
This might have to be a two-parter episode. Who the fuck knows?
What does to be over with?
So that concludes part 1 of Garbage Theater Presents A Zombie Croc. Tune in next week for the exciting conclusion as we prepare to go into our final episode of Season 2.